God is love, and those who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. Those are the words often used in the Church of England marriage service, but they're also words used by lesbian and gay Christians who want to have their commitment and love for each other celebrated in the eyes of God through the sacrament of marriage. At the moment, this is against the law, but that could change on Tuesday if the House of Commons votes aye to the marriage same-sex couples bill. Should gay couples be allowed to marry? Sharon, is your partner Franca? You want to get married?
Yeah, we do.
Why isn't this is the argument we hear against it. Why isn't a civil partnership good enough for you with a blessing thereafter?
First of all, it's not about it being good enough. It's about the fact that it's a very different sort of institution. A civil partnership is a legal contract. Any two people of the same gender, as long as they are not related, can go and enter into it. It denies the fact that it's a sexual relationship. It doesn't. You don't have to. Most people do, but you don't have to make any vows. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's for life, and there's certainly no need for fidelity. You cannot dissolve a civil partnership on the grounds of adultery because you don't have to be faithful to your civil partner. It's not part of it. With marriage, all those things are there. Marriage is about making a commitment for life. It's a covenant. It's not a contract. And especially a marriage in church, if you're going to have your marriage solemnized, you are saying that God is part of this relationship, is central to this relationship, and that you are going to be living your relationship, emulating that relationship with God. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, God brought my partner and myself together. God has been part of our relationship from the start. We wish to celebrate that in the biggest commitment we're going to make. We want to make a commitment for life, saying that we are going to be faithful to one another for that duration. And, marriage is a sacrament. And that's very important to me. A sacrament is just an outward sign of an inward grace. Love is a grace. We have been graced with love for one another, and we wish to express that by going through the sacrament of marriage to actually say, this is what we are saying. We are going to be together for life. We are making this commitment, forsaking all others. And that we can only do through marriage. That's not what you do in a civil partnership.
Austin, their love came from God.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. The problem is that marriage, of course, is not just about love and commitment. As the law understands it at the moment, it is a comprehensive conjugal biological union with the capability of giving rise to children who are then raised by their birth parents, and everything else about the marriage.
Lots of gay people have children or having children. Is it not better? Here's the question, is it not better that those children are raised within marriage?
Well, many children are being raised at the moment in many ways by foster parents, by gay couples, by single parents, by divorced parents, and they're bringing them up magnificently. But that doesn't make them marriage. Marriage at the moment, as the law understands it, has a particular sign value, which is to say that the gold standard for the upbringing of children is being raised by their birth parents. That's what gives them that sense of identity. Because the benefits of that, and by the way, we are talking here about reform to civil marriage. I think the whole sacramental question in a way is irrelevant because this is a reform to civil marriage. So the question is, does it serve society to redefine marriage in such a way that same-sex couples can marry, if it means downgrading marriage from that definition to a mere domestic partnership between any two people? The evidence suggests that if you do that, you downgrade the importance of marriage in the eyes of society, you make people less likely to marry, and indeed in other countries which have introduced same-sex marriage, we have fewer people marrying and greater divorce rates.
Well, Michael Gove in the newspaper today, the Secretary of State for Education, who's a big supporter of this, one of the Conservatives who are supporting it despite the up to 200 backbenchers who aren't. He says this will absolutely, contrary to your point, this will reinforce marriage. I'll come back to you.
But the evidence is against it, that's all.
Is the evidence against it?
The evidence from other countries is that it
Yes, sir.
No, I don't
Thanks very much.
that.
I was just going to say that exact... Not often I agree with Michael Gove, but on this he's right. Marriage equality will strengthen the institution of marriage. Now, I'm not religious, so I'm not really bothered about it from a religious point of view, although I agree a lot with what our friend says here. But this is about equality. We don't want anything different. Those of us who are gay just happen to want equality. And I also happen to believe that people who are heterosexual should also be able to have civil partnerships. But if I defy anyone in this audience to say that we shouldn't allow to be equal.
Yeah.
All right. Is this about equality? David wanted to come in.
Yes, Nicky,
Another dog collar.
Yeah, just to answer the question, and we've had 3 questions today, and the answer to the first one for me was yes, the second one was no, and this one is yes as well, because I don't actually see what the real problem is here. Wait a minute. You posed it at the very beginning, and you asked the question about a civil partnership and a blessing. What is interesting, of course, and we've used the word sacrament, is that in the Western Church, the tradition is that the sacrament of marriage is effected by the couple themselves.
Absolutely.
They marry each other, and the Church is only there to give a blessing of that marriage. Hence, it's called in the prayer book the solemnisation of matrimony. So, in a sense, there's a lot of confusion there as to what is actually going on. The other point about children, of course, raises all sorts of other interesting issues.
It does.
What about people that are in their 60s or 70s? Are we assuming that if they get married, then it isn't a marriage because it's unlikely to bring forth children? People that have other disabilities, or people that are unable, people that are unwilling, are we actually saying they can't marry, they will not be married? There's a whole range of very different scenarios here, and we confuse them very easily to make another point, and quite often the other point is actually a degree of homophobia.
Yes.
First of all, the law already prohibits a very large number of people from marrying. For example, if you're already married, you can't then marry somebody else. You can't marry more than one person. There's a whole series of prohibitions. Needs, age of consent, freedom to marry. There are all kinds of qualifications. Marriage discriminates by virtue of the fact that it is an institution which promotes certain
precisely
goods. In the same way, let me finish, the same way that pensions discriminate against young people. You know, I mean, to uphold a certain good, the law has to discriminate. The question is...
Pensions discriminate against young people. That's next week's big question.
Is it unjust discrimination? That's the question. And it isn't unjust discrimination because if you have to redefine marriage to allow same-sex couples, you change the
Wait
nature
a
of
minute.
marriage.
Sharon's from the Coalition for Marriage, not to be confused with other coalitions. There are other coalitions are available, as we well know. So, Sharon, what is the detriment? What?
Nicky, can I just say that it's actually not discrimination to treat different things differently. Men are different to women. A same-sex union, while you can respect it, is not the same as a heterosexual union. It is not prejudice to say that two things...
Only because you say it.
The very bill itself is treating, when you read all 55 pages of it, it treats same-sex unions differently to heterosexual unions. And I won't bore you with the details, but it does. Marriage is a natural union that goes back to the beginning of time. Lawyers didn't create it. The church didn't create it. This nation didn't create it. This government didn't create it. It goes back a long time, Nicky, and this government has no right to come in and tamper with something so fundamental. But what I would say to Sharon and Paul opposite, because I respect their views about religious freedom and tolerance, but what the Coalition for Marriage is hearing from is we're hearing from people up and down the country who say, I'm in a senior position, I daren't say I believe in man-woman marriage because I'm scared of losing my job.
I believe in man-woman marriage. I've never denied man-woman marriage.
I totally believe which was wrong is being replaced by a new intolerance.
Tim's back.
Yeah, I'm back. What difference does it make to you or anyone else if two gay people want to get married and live happily ever after?
I'll tell you exactly what difference it makes. It makes a difference to the civic liberties of those millions of people up and down this country who believe in man-woman marriage.
Doesn't change them at all.
In 2011, a housing officer lost his job.
And we argued for that to be given back because that was ridiculous.
He said on Facebook that he believed in man-woman marriage. He has never received compensation or his job back, and that's before this bill goes into law.
OK.
But we're hearing about intolerance up and down the country.
What will this mean for gay Muslims?
If I was approached by two gay Muslim men asking to be married, I would refuse to marry them because they do not meet the terms and conditions of marriage. Marriage within Muslim law is a contract between a male and a female. So that's a non-starter to start with. If they wish to be recognised as partners together in the eyes of the law, they have access to the civil partnership if they wish to do so. They're free to do that.
So that civil partnership should be enough?
That should, if that's what they're seeking, if they're seeking legal recognition, that is fine. But for Muslims, the definition of marriage is one between a man and a woman. And that is what I would continue to teach my children, my pupils, my students. And I do not want to fall on the other side of the law where, because I believe that this is what marriage is all about, that it becomes an arrestable offence, for example, or something like that.
Yeah,
This
Sharon wants to come in on
It's absolutely right. You should
Do you
continue
respect that
to.
opinion?
I absolutely do. And if
Why?
this government was going to bring in, because if this government was going to bring in a law that actually said that everybody had to do something which was against their conscience, I would be absolutely opposed to it. The whole point here.
But if somebody else expressed
is,
it who wasn't of a religious persuasion, you'd say they were homophobic.
No, no. If their belief is that marriage is between one man and one woman, they do not wish to enter into or conduct a same-sex marriage, that's absolutely fine. That's their belief. I don't want them to. I want the ability to enter into a marriage myself and, as somebody who is ordained, to be able to perform and conduct those solemnisations for the people that I know wish to be married as a same-sex couple. And that is what I like about the current law that's being proposed, is that it actually gives us all that freedom. And the government has regularly changed the laws around marriage over the years. This is nothing new, it's nothing different. What we are doing is seeing a move towards greater equality. It is taking nothing away from opposite-sex couples and their marriage. If you're married today, you will be married in exactly the same way. Your relationship will be exactly the same the day after this comes into legal being than you were the day before. It is totally true.
As soon as one gay couple gets married, you are then, by definition, saying that gender is irrelevant to marriage law. You change the marriage law for everybody, and gender is not irrelevant to marriage law. Marriage is a gendered institution. It's the only union that naturally produces children. It's bigger than the two individuals involved. It's the building block of society that is not just about the happiness of individuals.
But if it is about children,
Sharon,
if it is about children, there are many children who are in many different types of relationship. Is it not better if a gay couple have children? Would you not prefer it that that gay couple had that sort of sanctity, that they were married?
That's a completely different question. We're talking about redefining marriage.
No, you brought in
and saying it's just about the adult satisfaction of individuals involved.
No, we're not.
And I tell you that a poll this weekend says that a quarter of the gay and lesbian community say, yeah, one redefinition, the next one's fine as well. If you redefine
what will
it
the next
away
redefinition be? What do you fear?
They're saying that they would be happy with polyamorous unions being recognised.
Who says that?
A quarter of the gay community polled this weekend.
I haven't
seen anything like that.
When you talked about the natural process of, you talked about the natural process of children. 98.9% of children in the UK who are physically, sexually, and emotionally abused happens in heterosexual setups.
And also,
vast majority of looked after children in local authority care are from heterosexual households.
I'm sorry, but
2 women a week die at the hands of their former or current partner in heterosexual relationships.
Given all of that,
you can't have the same figures attached to the gay community.
Are you saying there's some specificity about heterosexuals?
Absolutely not. As Sharon has already said, heterosexuality is as acceptable to us as homosexuality. This isn't about anything other than equality in the eyes of the law. We have to be fit for the 21st century as a society.
You're in a partnership right now. Do you want to get married?
I'm in a civil partnership.
Do you want to get married?
Yes, in essence, I would really love to get married to my partner. We've been together 19 years. We've been in a civil partnership for 3. He's the most important person in my life on anything else. And so I'd absolutely love to marry when the time is right for us.
Why would marriage be so important?
Because it brings added value. It doesn't detract from the sanctity of marriage. It actually adds to it. When you start looking at those issues...
Rabbi Shockett.
Just clarify in my mind, how does that term marriage add value to your relationship?
Because it legitimises and gives me full equality.
You don't feel that you're in a legitimate relationship right now?
Hang on a second, we've used the word here, tolerance. Well, we tolerate bad weather, we tolerate the trains being late. As a human being, do you not realise how patronising and undignified being tolerated is? All of my life I've had that.
I'll tell you what is patronising. I don't have a problem with civil partnerships, and I don't have a problem with people choosing the particular lifestyles that they want. Or whatever, living the way they are living. But my real point over here is that, as far as I'm concerned, I think it is wrong when one group type comes along and looks to undermine or redefine something that's already been around for so long in order to build something new.
About the Holocaust.
Sorry, I don't want to get back to the Holocaust in our gay marriage debate, if you don't mind.
But gay people were included in the Holocaust, Nicky.
Wait a minute,
They were absolutely stigmatised and victimised and persecuted by the very group of people that suffered the most horrendous thing in history. And in those camps, gay people were separated and punished in a way that we've never described. You airbrushed that out. You airbrushed that out. I'm sorry, but you do.
There's a superb play by Martin Sherman, isn't there?
You airbrushed those issues out, and women and Romani travellers are the same thing. They were victimised and persecuted within the camps by the very people
I would argue against gay people, but I'm not.
But it's historic.
I'm asking you not to redefine the whole principle of marriage as it always has been in effect.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from this member of the audience who's wearing a blue shirt, and I say good morning to you.
Good morning.
We've got a little element of calm. What would you like to say?
I think if you allow gay marriage, then that will. There's a danger of that opening the floodgates for marriage to be redefined in different ways. Like instead of just being between two people, then it could be between a man and two women, or women and three men. It's just like last year it's actually happened. Last year in Brazil, a man got married to two different women in the same ceremony.
Well, no one's suggesting that
happens in some parts of the world.
It happens. People say that, all right, if you could redefine marriage for homosexuals...
Why should I not be equal?
If David Cameron thinks he's got a backbench revolt on his hands now, think what he'd have if he tried to bring that in.
Why should homosexuals be singled out? Why should marriage be redefined specifically for homosexuals and not for other groups?
Let's have a reasoned debate. Your reason for me not being able to marry is because of what-ifs.
Well, no, it's actually happened. It's actually happened. People will say, why is it that homosexuals are given special rights that we've got to redefine
marriage?
rights?
We want to be equal. You say you're just wrong.
Well, no, I know, because I look at it from a Christian point of view. You look at it from
I'm looking at it from a Christian point of view as well. And it's not about special rights.
If she's Christian, then she know that God says that homosexuality.
Jesus never mentioned homosexuality.
God has never said that.
Well, Jesus said that everything.
Not once.
Jesus said that the Gospels that came before him are true and that they must be followed.
Jesus also says that
where does their love
divorce
come from? Hey? Where does their love come from?
Well, it's definitely not from God. It must be from Satan.
It also
that's outrageous.
Sorry, God is love. Does your Bible not say the same as mine, that God is love? So how can love not come from God?
My Bible also says that homosexuality is a sin.
No, it doesn't.
Wait a minute. Sharon, do you have a kind of scriptural problem in your arguments with the Old Testament, where it's quite or is it explicit?
No, it isn't. And this debate isn't actually... we're not here to actually debate whether homosexuality is a sin, and we're going to be going down a completely different line if we start on that. There's an awful lot of theological debate in how we understand the text from both a cultural perspective and from putting them back into their correct context. So I don't want to actually get into that. What I do want to, though, however, say is that Jesus did say that a divorce was wrong. He says that explicitly. He never, ever says anything against same-sex relationships, but he does say that divorce is wrong. And yet, we have managed to redefine all our marriage laws to accommodate divorce. We have redefined marriage laws many, many times over the centuries. We've changed the ages of consent. We've changed the other things that attach to marriages around what women are entitled to and not entitled to, and stopping women from being just chattel. We have redefined marriage in many, many different ways. This is nothing new that we are going to redefine marriage, if that's what you're calling it. It is certainly not undermining marriage. It is actually saying marriage is so good that we all want it.
Right, so lady back there, yeah. Good morning, hi. We haven't got a lot of time, sorry.
We're in a society that marriage is between a man and a woman, and to completely redefine that is, I agree with the man over there, it would open the floodgates for different sorts of, unions, polygamous unions and stuff like that. So
yeah, okay, and
I just wanted to say, in history, the Christian Church has reformed all the way through. When Henry VIII got bored of his wife, he got divorced. So why can't people like Sharon get married? I can't say the same for Judaism or Islam, though.
I don't understand.
Oh, Tony,
please.
We haven't got too much time.
I've been married for over 20 years. I do not understand how my marriage to a woman is undermined in any way by two people of the same sex marrying. I just do not understand.
On Wednesday morning, when the legislation has been passed, we'll all wake up and you won't really notice a great deal of difference in the world, and the world will still be there, and people that are heterosexuals are married will remain married and will continue to have a happy marriage. And other
do you salute?
My marriage.
Yeah. Do you salute David Cameron? This is going to be hard for you.
It is very hard. I mean, I just think of Steve Bell. No, I just think of Steve Bell's cartoon depiction of David Cameron, and that just summarises it all for me.
Oh. How about that Christian charity? Thanks for watching. See you next week. Debates continue on Twitter. We'll be in Cardiff. Have a good Sunday.